Hey, it's the Brian and Kindra Show. We're here to give valuable insights and valuable tips and just all around good information about real estate.
I wasn't even listening. Did you butcher the
I
intro?
did, baby.
That's fine. It's extra valuable.
It's extra valuable today.
Valuable.
Yes.
So did you have a Merry Christmas?
Of course.
Okay, let's just move on. Okay, part of me is afraid that we will have too much time if we start now on our topic. Part of me was afraid that this is going to last forever.
Hey.
It might feel like forever.
It might.
I do believe that this is valuable insight.
Yes.
And I do think that you have some practical tips for some creative
And
finance.
I think you're going to see a lot more of this.
Okay. I like, by the book, I don't love change.
Yep. Cookie cutter.
But, well, not so much that. I mean, I think I have some uniqueness. Thank you. But, I like to know what to expect in a contract.
Yes.
And I'm afraid, whenever we do creative financing things, so we're going to talk about some creative financing for purchasing homes, right? Real estate. I should say real estate. I'm always afraid that I will not do my part right and it will hurt someone later.
Yes.
Somebody said one time, I've heard somebody make comments that so-and-so is good at the contract part of real estate, so-and-so is a real seller, yada, yada, yada. I think that the contract is the part that takes care of the buyers, and I think I think it is the most valuable part of the transaction because that's the part that protects everyone.
Yes.
That's the part that tells the buyer, these things are to take care of you, and seller, this is to take care of you. And everybody knows exactly what to expect so that they can have the least amount of negative surprises. There's always a negative surprise, but the least amount of negative surprises. And then they're protected.
Yes.
I'm terrified when we get into too much creativity that I will miss something and I will
we
hurt
were
someone.
trained by the same person.
I really thought it was a personal problem, but maybe we can blame it on someone else.
No, the good and the bad, though.
It was
always
great.
made me
That part was
question
great.
every piece. So even just the other day, I was doing an early storage. They're going to store their stuff in the house. And I was like, okay, well, let's write a contingency plan. Like, what are we going to do to protect the sellers? Well, we want a liability, so if they trip. We want a liability if the house floods. We want a liability if what happens if somebody breaks in? What happens if the house blows down? What happens if there's a tidal wave in Woodward? Like what do you protect ourselves against?
I mean, there could be a tsunami.
I mean, something. So where do you cannot protect against everything, and
You can't.
that's part of the problem.
Yes.
So when you start adding variables, it increases exponentially, to me, the potential for a problem.
Okay, so my dad, when he buys a washer or a dryer, he buys the basic model because the more buttons there are, the more things that can go wrong. And I actually said that to Jennifer at Modern Appliance the other day. Well, when I go purchase one, I need the simplest model because the less buttons to push, the less things that can go wrong. And so it's the same as what you're saying.
Yep.
Like the simpler, the better. But man, so take over, man. What are we going to do here?
So we're going to talk about creative financing.
Do you want to start with discussing the difference between rent to own and owner financing?
So let's talk about creative financing versus a mortgage.
Okay, go.
So the mortgage laws have changed so much in the last 5 or 6 years since the Dodd-Frank Act that financing a home has got even more eyes on it. Like,
Right.
they're trying to protect against fraudulent, high-risk loans.
Because
There were some lenders out there that were doing short-term and then escalating the interest rates out massive. Like, how we're going to loan you $400,000 at 1.2% interest for, 2 years, and then after 2 years, it goes to 27% interest. Or you have to refinance it, or we're going to take your home. Like, there was all kinds of
and there were loans
things.
that were so easy to get, it was a joke. Like,
Yes.
I had a 100% conventional loan when we moved to Woodward in 2008. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous now. I didn't know it was ridiculous then. I was
Right.
just thankful. Now I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
Like legit, not USDA, 100% conventional loan. That's crazy. You had one You had a weird loan.
in 2007, I had a no doc,
Yes.
no income, credit score only, 20% down loan. I said, well, how much can I borrow? And he goes, how much money you got? And I said, I told him, he goes like, well, you can borrow 5 times that amount. And I was like, there is no way I could ever pay that back. And so
this is, I mean, that's
Yeah.
why
that's why the rules have changed.
Dodd-Frank Act came into effect.
Yes.
Was because they saw all that crazy stuff. They recognized that it put a bunch of buyers into a negative position. A lot of buyers lost their homes in foreclosures in 2008 through 2010, probably.
Yep.
And so that's why they did that.
Yep.
That's what I had to tell you. That's been more than 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so because of those changes, mortgage laws have gotten stricter.
Yep.
And rightfully so. A lot more careful, a lot more I's dotted, T's crossed. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yes.
So then that put a slowdown on creative financing.
Okay.
So you are a lot more protected using a standard mortgage.
Right.
You just have, so this is creative financing. Why would you use creative financing? It's part of the problem. So let's get into that. So basically, if you can get a mortgage, there's probably not a reason to do creative financing.
Agreed. Because a mortgage is probably your very best option.
So-
You're probably going to have the best interest rate. You're going to have the best terms. You're going to have
Right.
the most security, and it protects you.
So why you would do creative financing and qualify for a mortgage.
Okay.
So right now, people have interest rates locked in at 2% and 3% interest and 4% and 5%.
Right.
So right now there are some of these bigger towns and some of these $1 million, $2 and $3 million properties. If you can imagine a $2 million property went from 2% to 7%, their payment went up $5,000 a month from a 2% to a 7%.
That say it again.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? $5,000 per month on a $2 million.
Oh, wow.
So if they could figure out a way to, I'm going to use the word hijack the other guy's interest rate.
Right.
So there are people buying homes. I lost the word. They're taking over their mortgage. So subject to, they're buying the home subject to the mortgage. So let's say it's $1 million home. The other owner owes $800,000.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer may give them $200,000 and then just start making their payment.
Okay.
So that is a torrent warm. That is one of these options. If you're going to do that, now I'm going to stop real quick. If you're going to do that, let's hire an attorney,
Seriously.
because there's some clauses inside them mortgages that can throw you for a loop.
Okay, let me go back. You're not talking about the buyer assuming the mortgage. You're talking about the buyer, the property is still in the current owner's name.
No, it doesn't have to be.
So it can be deeded over.
Yes, the mortgage is still in place under the other individual's name.
So remember a minute ago?
Very
not really,
dangerous
but-
for the seller.
Well, last week, whenever we talked about having a title contingency, this is not going to be clear marketable title, then you're not going to do
Still a
title work.
mortgage. No, yes. You can still do
Because the
title
other
work.
mortgage isn't going to be released.
Correct. So you're buying it subject to that mortgage.
Okay.
So you are now responsible for that mortgage.
Okay.
I believe they file a form with the treasurer's office that
okay.
says, buyer, now seller A actually is duplicating the mortgage. So it's like he's mortgaging his own mortgage. So the seller is still liable for his mortgage, but yes, the buyer is still liable for his mortgage. Now, why in the world would you do that if you're a seller? Well, maybe that's the only way to sell your house right now.
Right.
Maybe it's like, I'm going to lose my house. It's going to go into foreclosure. I can't make that payment anymore. This guy's willing to. He's giving $200,000 down. You can pay that down on your note, and then he can continue making the payment. He's in real deep because he gave you a couple $100,000.
Right.
Now your payment's covered. It is going to tie up your credit. Your credit will be tied up. It will still show on your credit report. It will not show up on the buyer's credit report.
Ooh, which is a negative for many, many buyers. And
Yes and no.
your credit, but it can be because your credit score, my mortgage weighs heaviest on my credit
Yes.
score, right?
Yep. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and all this stuff, like, I mean, I'm telling you, if you get into these things, please call us and let's go talk to an attorney, because I want to lay down all of the bad things I've seen happen.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot. And I want to make sure that we have all of those bases covered, and we weigh the pros and cons, and we weigh the risks. Have I done owner financing? Absolutely. I don't know how many times I've done it, because it was beneficial for me and it was beneficial for the other person.
Right.
And we all won. Could we have lost? Who would have lost the biggest? Same with the bank. If I quit making my payment today, who wins and who loses?
Right.
Well, it comes back to part of the business plan.
Sure.
So this is very confusing probably for people. So
it is confusing. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so
important we talk about it.
important that we talk about it, but why it's hard to talk about too, because it's hard to grasp all of the different straws that are floating around in the air.
We could talk. I mean, I think I could go days talking about this stuff, because there's so many options. So that was the quick 10 minutes difference between a mortgage and, kind of an owner finance. And can you owner finance a house you have mortgaged and all that? Yes. The answer is yes. Most of your mortgages say there's a due on sale clause. So if they see that you have transferred title,
right,
they can call your note, which means now you have to pay it quickly, or they will foreclose on it.
Which defeated the whole purpose of
the whole purpose.
So be careful.
If you're going to owner finance it, if you're going to do that subject to type mortgage, you want to make sure that your buyer can go out and purchase the home and pay the mortgage off. Either way, if you're going to lose the house anyway, there's some of these times it's like, well, this is my only white flag. This is my only thing I can do. This is my only option. Well, if it's your only option,
maybe it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Let's go try it.
Right.
Let's see if we can rescue your credit and rescue you and your family and move on to the next deal and help this people in and all that. So,
okay. Okay. I want you to discuss what rent to own is and what, I want you to discuss what that means.
So rent to own, lease to own, owner financing are kind of the three top main. And then there's combinations of all three of those.
But we have a lot of buyers call and say, hey, do you do rent to own? Hey, do you do lease to own? Hey, I'm looking for this.
Okay.
But whenever we get down to the nitty gritty, what they're really wanting and expecting is not really what it is.
Right. And
so talk about
when we ask more questions, it always comes out, they may be expecting something different. So a lot of people have heard the term, this rent to own. So the definition of a rent to own is basically, I'm going to rent the house until I can buy it.
Okay.
So I want to buy this $100,000 house. I'm going to pay you $1,000 a month rent until I can buy it. The purchase price is $100,000 today. Mm-hmm. It's $100,000 in 6 months. It's $100,000 in 5 years. I'm going to rent it until I can pay you $100,000.
And it doesn't matter how much money I've given you.
It doesn't matter.
I'm still going to buy it for $100,000 in 5 years.
Right.
Or tomorrow.
Right. Whatever you put in your contract.
Okay.
So now some people rent and they contribute part of the rent towards the principal. Okay. So that's another version of a rent to own contract. So I'm going to pay you $1,000 a month. I want $200 a month to go to the principal. So that now it's becoming more like a lease to own or a mortgage.
Okay.
But rent to owns basically mean I'm going to rent it until I can pay you what you're wanting for the property. Now they get dirty again. It gets messy because now who fixes the water heater? Who fixes the roof? Who pays for insurance? Who does all that stuff? All those are variations inside this contract, which can change an infinite number of times. So when you get into a rent-to-own contract, you want to make sure all of that is spared out. Most of the lawsuits come on a rent-to-own contract because something wasn't clear. Who's responsible for property taxes? Who is responsible for the tree that fell on the neighbor's house? Who's responsible for the fence? Who's responsible for mowing the yard? All of those things. So again, if you get into any of these contracts, please get a second opinion from an attorney. I don't mind even reading your contract, highlighting the things I see that you need to get more information on, and then send you to an attorney. I'll do my people for free, then go talk to an attorney. But I still advise anytime before you.
Somebody should talk to an attorney?
I would definitely talk to an attorney. So the next one is this owner financing, not owner financing, a lease to own. These are more strategic in they're taking more possession of the home. So now they're more responsible for, it's closer to a mortgage than owner finance.
Okay.
So they now are more responsible for like a triple net lease on a commercial building. They're responsible for taxes, insurance, and repairs.
Okay.
So usually when people get into a lease own, they're taking possession and ownership without taking legal title is what lease to own is. So you set your terms out. I'm going to lease the property for 15 years. At the end of the 15 years, I'm going to own the house. There's most of the time, or I'm going to lease it for 5 years and then I'm going to refinance it.
Okay.
Here's what the it's $100,000 house. I'm going to lease it for $1,000 a month for 5 years, and in 5 years I'm going to pay you $80. So some people put a AM chart in there. I say AM chart very liberally because it's not really amortized as a lease.
Okay.
It is, again, then go back and say you get $100 a month towards your payment. But you're taking more responsibility on as a lease to own.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you here because I think this is where I hear buyers get mixed up. A lot of our buyers think that every dime that they pay toward the lease fee goes toward their principal balance,
Right.
and it doesn't.
Nope.
Generally, obviously, every contract can be written differently. But this is where you really want to pay attention. How much of your lease fee is going toward principal and how much is just to lease the property?
Correct.
So that you're not surprised later when you think, I'm going to have this paid off in 5 years. Really, in 5 years, you're refinancing for a little less than what you're originally contracted for.
Yep.
So definitely, again, goes back to you with you're serious. Like, visit with an attorney. Make sure you fully understand the terms. Make sure that they are telling you, make sure the attorney can show you, this could get you in trouble, this could get you in trouble, this is what you're doing. Get that in layman's terms so that you fully understand what you're getting into.
Yep. You want to make sure. And then the good thing about talking to an attorney in advance is if you do get in a problem, then you have an attorney that's already reviewed it and they can help you take the next step. So then the last one is owner financing. So owner financing is basically
This is a lot less scary.
the human, the seller or whoever it is, the individual, the human, not the monkey.
We're talking AI here.
Yes, AI, the AI version. Yeah. So the guy, the person, the individual, or the company that's selling, or not even selling, is financing the home. It doesn't have to be the owner. They basically are becoming the bank.
Right.
So they are a mortgage. You legally own the property. It is in your name. Deed is in your name. They file a mortgage against your house or property or building or whatever that says, and then a promissory note that says you promise to pay. So you're going to mortgage the property. So I've done this several times. I'm in one right now. So basically, an individual said, man, I would like to make this much money on my money. We looked for some investment property. I told him, I said, well, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to buy this commercial building. If you would be interested in becoming the bank for me, I will pay you this. This is what the bank has offered me. I will pay you this much just to help you. And then it helps me. It makes it a little easier. And then we'll move forward. Now you're my bank. I make you a payment every month. You're making way more than a CD and way more than they make at the bank.
Right.
And so and it's no risk to them. So basically I bought a $300,000 building, put $50,000 down. They loaned me $250,000. I'm paying them really good interest rate. Now in our contract, I have the right to refinance it at any point in time.
Sure.
And the way I wrote this one, because it's a different person, I wrote it that anytime they want out, they just have to give me a 90-day notice.
Right.
Because I have the ability to just pay it off. I mean, I can just call the bank. They'll just loan me the money. So it's super safe for them. And they're in it really good. So they're in a price for $375. So they're in a $375,000 building. I only owe them $250. So if I get wild and crazy and go to the casino and give you all my money and they need to foreclose on me, there's probably no risk. They can just auction the darn building and get their money back. So as the financier person, if you're the guy financing the one of these three things, it goes back to, hey, I'm the seller. The rent to own is more than likely the most safe for you because you still have title to the property.
Right.
Lease to own the same. And then owner finance is the lease. Then you got to foreclose. So we'll get into the seller aspects in just a second. So buyer wise, so if you become the owner finance, so that's the difference between all three of those. Rent own, you're renting till you can purchase it for the price. Lease to own, you're agreeing to purchase at a price in the future, and you take basically full control of the property except for legal title. And then owner finance, you take legal title, they take a mortgage back.
Right.
So when the Dodd-Frank Act, so we're talking about sellers, when the Dodd-Frank Act hit, a lease to own can be construed as a mortgage. So as a seller, you need to make sure your attorney has read your contract to verify that if they decide to sue you for not collecting your payments correctly, not sending out notices, not doing all the requirements of the Dodd-Frank Act.
Oh, interesting.
So if they take you to court and say, hey, this lease to own is a mortgage, then they can tie onto the Dodd-Frank Act, and then now you have to foreclose on them. So you do not want to get into that mess if that wasn't the intention. That wasn't the intention. So you want to make sure, again, if I haven't said it yet, I want to go ahead and mention if you want to call an attorney, it'd be a great thing to talk to them about. So,
Without a doubt.
So the risk here, these are way more risky. They are very rewarding. I've owner financed, I don't know how many properties.
You owner financed mine.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
You did for a very short time.
Yep.
Because I was in the middle of the divorce, and
Yep.
I didn't want to create any discomfort for my now ex-husband to have to sign, because spouses have to sign an exculpatory clause and a mortgage. Did I say that? I think that's what it's called. Yes. And I did not want to put him in that position. I knew that would be uncomfortable because we were really, just a short time away from finalizing the divorce. And so you said, okay, I talked to my wife. We are willing to do this. And so I had to pay my mortgage to you. My only complaint is you don't deposit checks very quickly.
I didn't, yeah.
But and that was really, again, what you said earlier, I think is so important, that the way that you've done business, and I would watch out for this with everyone. Not everyone does this the way you did. It was strategic for you. You did get interest. I paid you at the similar interest to what I mortgaged for when I did the secondary market mortgage. But it was also very strategic for me and allowed me to get into my cute little tiny house in a safe and swift fashion to allow everything in my crazy little life then to move forward and be finished. Like, it was very, very helpful, very, very beneficial. And I just caution people to be careful who they do business with as well.
Right.
Because that was a business transaction.
Yes.
I was very thankful to you and Carrie Ann, but it was still business. And I don't have the same trust level with everyone that I would with you. And I dare say you probably would be a little more careful with people that you do as seller. I mean, you were the bank
Yes.
in that situation.
So when I'm the bank for every other, yours was different. It was very strategic because it was more of, there was a lot more to it than just a business transaction.
It was less than a 6-month transaction,
Right.
too.
It was quick. It was easy.
Yeah.
It leveraged the ability to buy the house a little bit cheaper, quicker. It was awesome. It worked out exactly like we put it on paper.
Right.
So, and we did full paper.
We did.
We did everything. We did a mortgage.
I did a full-on closing with Jackie at Woodward County
We
Abstract.
did the whole thing. So it was like we filed everything.
Right.
So same type of deal. So I'm doing, so a lot of our rental homes that we had, we got in a situation where I couldn't manage all of the repairs and the maintenance and the phone calls in the middle of the night and the weekends and holidays. And so I converted a lot of hours to the lease to own option.
Awesome. Yes.
So basically we're telling them and we're telling them, hey, you really want to buy this house. You want to own it. We don't want to own it. You can't get a mortgage from the bank. So here's what we think fair market value is. We're going to sell it to you. Here's the fair market rent or interest rate. We put it all in there. And we have a full tilt contract. We've had it read by multiple attorneys. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars on this contract to protect not only us, but we also, like our goal is to not get the house back. We don't want the house back.
Right.
We have agreed to sell it to you. We want you to buy it. So in our lease to own contracts, and we don't have very many anymore. I say that, I don't know how many we have now, but we put you in the contract. You make the payments every month. A little bit knocks off the principal. You pay for insurance, you pay for taxes, you pay for repairs. It's all you. It's you basically own the house. We just have the title of the property.
Right.
So, and then sometimes there's reasons for that. You may have a judgment on your credit. You may have, you may just have really bad credit. You may have old hospital bills. You may have reasons you cannot go to the bank, but
Right.
you've changed or whatever. You've got on your feet and now you're making a steady paycheck and you're moving forward and you want to buy a home and you can't. Well, that's why we're doing these.
Right.
So we don't want to put somebody that just wants to rent a home in a lease to own contract.
Right.
So we go through it with them and say, hey, if you expect us to show up and fix your water heater, this isn't your game. And then on the other hand, if we're like, hey, you plan on, only living here 2 or 3 years and moving out, this is not your game.
Right.
So if you want to move in 2 years, you need to try to sell the house. And we'll help you sell it or find a different person to take over your lease to own. But then now we have control of your lease to own. We're not just going to move anybody in there
Right.
because we have control of the property. We don't want to move in, whatever. We don't want to move in somebody that's going to tear the property up. So, so the lease to own gives us still some control again. And I don't know how many times I remember that one of the first ones I did back in 2000. Oh, it was a long, long time ago. I accidentally bought a house in Goldsby.
Things happen.
Things happen. He's great.
I don't even know where
that's
that
a whole
is.
nother store. It's just south of Norman. And so I bought this house. I didn't know what to do with it. So I put a little ad in this local newspaper, said, hey, I'm going to I'm going to lease to own this home. I found a great dude that was working at that Goldsby casino. I met him. I sold him, financed the house. He made the payment for 10 years. So I bought the house for $12,000, sold it to him for $20,000. So I made $7,000 or $8,000. Plus then I charged him whatever interest was at the bank is 2 or 3% more than that. But it was easy.
Right.
He was super grateful. I would call and check on him. I went by one time. I was driving by and I thought, hey, I want to stop and check on this guy. And so I whip in there and I pull up to his house. I said, hey, I just come through there. I thought I'd check it. He invited me in, gave me cookies. Like, what the heck? Like
You made a friend.
we were friends. And I thought, and then I remember mailing him the deed.
Awesome.
Like I notarized it and I mailed it to him. And I said, hey, happy 10th anniversary of your house. You made your last payment. How exciting. So exciting. I love
That's
all of that.
awesome.
I love all of that when that happens. So rent to own, owner finance, all of them can be awesome. Please call your attorney. Okay.
And with that, we're done.
Yes, with that, we're done. Hey, if you got questions on that, please call me. I love going through all those. I want to really out the options. There's a billion options. We'll lay them all out, help you the best way you can. So thanks again. This is the Brian Kindra Show, 580-334-2303.
I'm Kindra Brown, 580-216-0090. And we will see you next time.